two guests, brothers Ryan and Tyson Thacker. You are with B.O.S. Retirement Solutions, a retirement advisement company, and you also wrote an article for Fox Business, which was great, where you compared the strategy in Brad Pitt's movie Moneyball to how you should think about your golden years. So we'll start with you, Ryan.
Great. Lauren, absolutely. We look at, with Moneyball, Brad Pitt plays Billy Bean, and he says we need to stop solving the same problems the same way. Right. And we really believe that that same principle applies to your financial retirement as well.
Okay, so what do you suggest that we do, Tyson?
Well, specifically, there's a couple of things that we can talk about. First, the biggest thing is a contract. There needs to be a contract in place, and so when we talk about that contract of stopping solving problems the same way, we need to focus on, there's only 20% of all Americans that are nearing retirement that have a contract in place, and that's with pensions. So how do we do that? We can do that through something called a fixed index annuity.
Okay, so you have one of those, and then what must that have in it?
So you look at the contract terms. There's lots of different types of annuities.
Right.
We look at three main terms. Number one is not lose any of your principal value that you put into your plan.
So you're not losing any money?
That's
Never
exactly
lose
right.
money?
Never lose money. That's rule number one.
What do you do when people say that's not possible?
Well, it comes down to education. And rule number two with that is have the ability to have gains that beat inflation. Because, of course, you can have a very conservative gain, but if it doesn't beat inflation, you're going to run out of money.
Inflation now, what are we running, 1.7%?
About 3.25%.
3.25%?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you figure that, though? Is inflation based on what? I'm thinking CPI inflation.
Yeah. There's different indexes that you can look at. But what we look at is having a minimum return of at least 3 to 4% that gives you the ability to outpace inflation. Absolutely.
Compounded.
So then when people say you should have at least $1 million set aside for your golden years, this is how you have to do it, right? You need to have 4% plus gains every year.
You look at that number, $1 million, and we look at it a little bit differently. And that comes back to stopping solving the same problem the same way. And that really
Just bring it back to the movie.
Exactly. I mean, really what it comes down to is you've got to take care of your needs first. We recommend making sure that you have enough income, guaranteed income, that covers those needs, and being able to have an income stream that you or your partner cannot outlive.
So is it $1 million for a couple or for one person?
That's all over the board. We hear lots of things. People say $1 million. A lot of it depends on debt.
Right.
The more debt somebody has, the more they're going to need as a nest egg to be able to draw from. But the key, again, is by contract, a guaranteed paycheck for life that neither spouse could ever outlive.
And one of the contract terms here is uncapped growth. What does that mean?
So what that means is you have the ability to not lose money, but then as the index goes up, there's different indexes, the S&P 500 index, commodity indexes. You can tie this growth to different indexes, and it's actually not in the index, but that growth allows you to have those gains, and they compound, and that is what increases your retirement income so you make sure that you don't outlive that.
And minimum fees?
When you talk about fees, they're all over the board depending on what you have. There's some that are out there that are as high as 4%. But there's a lot that are as low as 1.5% or less. And so as the client becomes educated, it really becomes incumbent to make sure that they keep more of their own money by having less in fees, obviously.
Right. When you sit down with people, what is the most common question that they ask you?
They don't want to run out of money. Most people
Are they surprised by how much they need?
Yes, they are. And what we look at is how do we maximize your Social Security income stream that you're receiving, first of all, because there are ways to do that.
Like?
So what you look at is you go to Social Security and they tell you, hey, there's only 3 ways, an early, a full, or a delayed retirement. The fact is there's different spousal applications and different things that you can file to maximize what you receive from Social Security. And then from there, take these other retirement assets, and it doesn't need to be $1 million, but guarantee that you can have those income streams added to Social Security to provide a stress-free retirement.
Yeah, that's why people need to pay to get retirement advisors like you in their back pockets. No, I'm kidding. Social Security, what's the fear that it won't be in existence in a couple of decades from now?
That's a great question. That's another common question when we sit across the table from a client that they ask. And for the most part, we saw in the last election cycle that both parties were basically saying 55 and older, you don't really need to worry. Somebody younger than that may need to think about how that's going to change.
Need to worry.
We definitely need to have a big enough nest egg somewhere else to protect and make sure there's multiple income streams coming in at retirement.
Well, people nowadays are putting off retirement later and later, and making sure you have enough money to settle down can be very complicated. Here to walk us through some of this is Tyson Thacker, a registered investment advisor and founder of B.O.S. Retirement Solutions. How are you, my friend?
Doing great.
Okay, let's get straight down to it. Why are people wary of retirement?
Well, really, people who are entering retirement right now are kind of between a rock and a hard place. On the one hand, we've had going on 7 years of a lot of ups in the stock market.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. Back in 2008, I believe you said over $1 trillion was lost.
Yeah, trillions, literally.
So how is that affecting people now?
Well, they gained it back pretty quickly, but the reality is because it's been so long since, and there's a lot more volatility in the market than there used to be. With that volatility, they've got in the back of their mind the concern of, am I going to lose those trillions again? And for most people getting close to retirement, they're not going to have that ability to gain back that money before they start needing to use it for income.
Okay, so what are you telling people to do? What's your advice? You were saying there's 3 different types of investments for yourself.
Well, the main thing is to keep it conservative as you get closer to retirement. Within 5 years, you really need to pare back the risk that you're taking. Let me give you an example that people are facing. For instance, if you've got money in the market and you want to put it into something conservative, if you go back and you look at what a CD, as an example, would give somebody back in 1981, using $500,000, not an insignificant amount of money, right, Troy?
No, well, when you think about it, you know, it's not a lot, but it is to a lot of other people.
Absolutely. So, in 1981, you had a 16% interest rate that you could plan on year in and year out.
That's amazing.
To get $80,000 of income a year.
Yes.
Whereas today, because interest rates are so low, and the Fed is talking about raising them, but they haven't yet, and even when they do, it will be on a more incremental basis. The reality is, with that same $500,000, you can't get more than about $400 a month. And that's before taxes.
Ouch.
Absolutely.
How do people survive on that? They have to plan ahead.
They have to plan. Income is king, Troy. Income is what it's all about.
Okay, so let's talk about the income, because that's what you really specialize in when someone like me comes to you about retirement.
Absolutely.
What do we do to begin with?
Well, first off, we do a review of where they're at, and we do what's called a risk and fees analysis to help them to make sure that they know where they're at.
What does that mean for the layman person? Because I'm like, what do you mean?
It basically means how much are you paying with your current investments, and how much risk are you taking, even if you think that you're taking less than that.
Wow.
And as a result, we can help them to generate a plan. The reality really becomes, Troy, that you've got most people who don't have any plan in place, and you take the same amount of money with somebody who does have a plan in place, and it can mean the difference by going on vacation, for instance, and staying at 4 Seasons versus Motel 6.
And enjoying your retirement.
Absolutely.
So that's why we need to come to you, and we're offering all our viewers at home, tell us what the deal is if they give you a call.
So for the next 20 viewers, they have the opportunity to get a free special report that gives them how to generate income all through retirement, Social Security maximization, gives them the ability to even look at longevity in retirement, because most people don't know it's 25, 30 years.
Of course, you can see all that information up on the screen now. Guys, give this man a call. He knows what he's talking about. Tyson, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you, Troy.
Today we're talking about different ways to maximize your money for retirement. Ryan Thacker with B.O.S. Retirement Solutions is here to tell us today how we're supposed to do that. Ryan, I know that a lot of us have retirement on the mind. I just started working on my 401k the other day. What are we supposed to do to be able to get the most out of our retirement money?
You know, today we're going to talk about Social Security. If I could use an analogy like building a house, you're not just going to show up and start pounding some nails and slapping up plywood. You're going to start with a foundation. And to any retirement plan, whether you have $250,000, $2.5 or $25 million saved for retirement, it starts with that foundation, which is Social Security.
So that's the laying the groundwork there that we need to build on to be able to make sure we have a good retirement.
Absolutely.
And why is that?
You know, if you look at it, 12.4% of your paycheck. I mean, let me just get real with those numbers a little bit. Sometimes we talk in percentages. If a husband and wife making $50,000 a year, that's $12,400 going into Social Security. And they may be struggling to raise a family and, saving 1 to 3% in their 401k. Well, that money going into retirement that you pay compounded year over year makes your retirement contributions in your 401k look like chump change.
Oh yeah, so this really can give you a great asset here. And I understand there's a lot of people don't know that there's a lot of Social Security benefits that are out there that they can utilize.
You know, a recent study showed that 73% of retirees are shortchanging themselves when it comes to the amount that they're receiving from Social Security. In fact, $10 billion, that's $10 billion with a B,
Hold on,
goes unclaimed every year.
This is how much money that people are just leaving on the table.
It is. And you know what's sad about this is when you look at the money that could be received from Social Security, and it's not an entitlement program, and you've been paying this from your very first paycheck as a child, and so it becomes important to understand what strategies are available for you out there.
So we don't have to really get into like a complicated system to figure out how we should save our money for retirement. Really, we just need to start with making sure we're aware of these Social Security benefits and then applying for them.
Exactly. Our firm helps pre-retirees and retirees maximize their Social Security as well as all of their other retirement income sources. And so that's the difference in many cases of leaving tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table during retirement.
So you've got a lot of money on the table there you can obviously utilize. If people want to be able to find out how to do that, I understand you guys are giving away some information to some folks this morning.
We are. For the first 20 callers, we have a report called the Social Security Decisions Guide. It's jam-packed of the latest little-known strategies from Social Security of how to maximize that retirement and get every single nickel out that you deserve. All
right, so you see that number there on the bottom of your screen. We'll, of course, have more information on, again, where that number is, and we'll have a link to their security website here as well as B.O.S. Retirement Solutions. And we'll link that up to our website, goodforutah.com. Ryan Thacker here with B.O.S. Retirement Solutions. Thanks for being here today.
Great, thank you.
Ryan and I have worked together for a long time. Even as early as elementary school, would buy candy and sell it on the playground.
We did. Atomic fireballs, buy them for 5, sell them for 10. Get mad and eat your inventory.
Sometimes when we were eating atomic fireballs, because they were so spicy, so hot, that when we had too many of those, that created a little problem. But other than that, it was kind of fun.
Growing up with 7 kids, you learn really fast that everyone needs to work together. When you work together, great things can happen. We definitely learned that work ethic growing up, and that's something that we still have with us today.
Two guests, brothers Ryan and Tyson Thacker. You are with B.O.S. Retirement Solutions, a retirement advisement company.
What it comes down to is you've got to take care of your needs first.
As you get closer to retirement, within 5 years, you really need to pare back the risk that you're taking.
Our approach is very simple. When you meet with us, the first thing that we want to do is we want to understand your story. We want to understand your hopes, your fears, your dreams, and what you want to accomplish.
We focus on creating a retirement income plan, the ability to help people to outlast inflation, and then to be able to help them leave a legacy to their children and grandchildren. Retirement is longer than it's ever been before. And so as we look at a client's plan and we really help them to focus on where they are and where they want to be, we have to begin with that. We have to begin with the end in mind.
Many of our clients, they're self-made. They didn't come from families of great wealth. They're just your everyday, hardworking American.
We are B.O.S. Retirement Solutions. This is Angie.
Recently, I just sat down with a client and we were looking at his Social Security statement. 47 years worth of earnings, went back to 1968. As he talked about the different years of income, he told me about, hey, this is when the recession happened in 1980. He worked in the construction industry and it was devastating to him. And the income actually went down. He talked about successes. And in that story, what I realized is he was looking at me across the desk and he says, Ryan, this is all I have. What we find is that story is the same for every single client that we meet with. There's a story in, whether it's 30 years, 40 years, or 50 years worth of earnings, there's ups and downs, and there's successes, and there's joy.
This is not a cookie cutter approach. Everybody has had a different life experience, everybody's had a different work experience, everybody has a different family, everybody has different passions.
Biggest question is, what are we going to put it in?
Yeah.
Right? What are we going to invest in? What are we going to earn? The other question is, how long are we going to live? You know, these are factors. It's not
At our firm, we work with other advisors that help with the estate planning process, that help with wealth management throughout from a tax perspective. Those are all things that we touch on as we work with a client throughout their entire life.
Our goal is to really maximize the dollars that you put aside, to minimize the dollars that go back to the government at that point in your life. It's better to be paying taxes than not, because that means you are making money, but our goal is still to minimize them as much as we can.
You're the boss of your retirement, and so we listen to the needs of people and help them to determine and co-create plans that will help them to accomplish their retirement goals. They're the boss of their retirement, we just help them to get from point A to point B.
We're grateful that we have a chance to work with so many wonderful people here, and we love the opportunity to work with you as well.
At B.O.S. Retirement Solutions, we help people get to and through retirement both now and into the future.